We're ready.
Okay, good. No, that's okay. Okay, good. You bow your heads for a moment of silent prayer, please. Thank you. I'd like to say I think we're all excited about the vaccine today, the first day. It's wonderful. We hope it all works out well, and it's wonderful to think that this may be coming to an end. At this time, would you stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Benton.
Here.
Mrs. Davis.
Here.
Mr. Swager.
Here.
Mrs. Thomas.
Here.
Mrs. Buard.
Yes, and here, thank you. Do we have any announcements for the visitors? I don't know where the paper is, but none.
Nobody signed up for them, but I do have one announcement regarding the agenda.
Perfect.
On back under item 9I, you will see an addition, which is to approve Teresa Robertson's food service substitute. We were running low on cooks, and she should have been approved before to get on a sub list, but we had to use her today and wanted to bring that before the board tonight. So that is one additional substitute approval I'd like you to act on tonight, if you would, please. That's
Okay.
the only change to the agenda.
And that's under I.
Yeah,
Second
under
to last
9I.
page.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Keith. It's been such an interesting year, and I wanted to now thus far had a main person Mr. Dixon has been nothing less than a year. And very supportive. That is also happening. They're very, they're very intelligent. They're also very kind. I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself. And I didn't have anything else to add.
Thanks for coming, Chief. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
joining
Nice
the
to meet you.
community.
Thank you. We look forward to meeting you without your mask.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, if there are no other announcements or comments, the treasurer's report.
You have 2 sets of meeting minutes from November 9th and November 23rd. You should have received the November treasurer's report. We have a request for supplemental appropriations and a certificate of estimated resources. We have 54 donations. The vast majority of which are in memory of David Demon.
I was like, who?
I kept looking out the door thinking, what?
And the last item I have is approving an advance from the general fund to a Title IIA fund. This happens every year around this time because ODE does not fully fund their grants until end of January, beginning of February, and we spend through this grant faster than they can fully fund it. So this is to advance the money into that fund so we can continue paying the teacher out of it, and then we will reimburse the general fund once that grant's fully funded by ODE.
This time we'll accept a motion to accept the treasurer's recommendations, and then we'll address the donations.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay,
You have
we
it,
have a
Ann.
motion
It's all
and a
yours.
second. And at this time, we'll have a minute of discussion because the donations attached here this evening are beautiful and overwhelming and graciously received. And we thank all of those who've made this a special part of their lives as well. I will say that we've met with the donor committee this past week, and we will meet again this next week. The discussion was extremely beneficial to everybody, and we look forward to the next meeting because, again, we feel like we are working out some of the details of how we could integrate their wishes, your wishes, and what the school curriculum might look like in the future. And it's just exciting and awesome. So thank you for all that you donated and given and made. You'll make the students' lives special, no doubt. Anybody else want to comment?
Yeah, just make sure everybody knows it's not you tonight. I know Frank usually sends out a thank you note to everyone. So, appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I'd like to just thank everyone as well that donated. And I didn't know Mr. Denman. I had just met him in July. So I feel it a privilege to have met him in July. And I appreciate everything that the donor group has done. I also wanted to recognize the donation that was received in memory of Karen Beach, as well as the gift cards that were donated to the Johnstown Elementary School as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I was going to note those ones, pull those out. Huge thank you to all of our scoreboard guys. This is tremendous. Tremendous amount of donations. Everyone who's donated, it is amazing. And just want to reiterate what Ruth Ann said. I'm really looking forward to collaborating with you guys, seeing how we can honor your guys' donations and ultimately see what we can do to, enhance learning and opportunities for our kids at the school. Very, very appreciative.
Okay. No other comments? We'll go ahead and vote on the acceptance.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis? Yes. Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer?
Yes, and the motion is carried. Superintendent's report?
Yes, just a few items before I get into the action items this evening. First of all, again, want to express my appreciation for everyone's work as we continue through this pandemic. One note that those following our website and our numbers that we put up every week had to take a break from that for the past couple weeks because, quite frankly, the health department had to reassign staff to deal with the numbers. And as of 3:30 today, I did receive from them a new update covering our cases from December 6th through the 12th. And tomorrow we will post these up on our website. Out of our population of 10,306 total in our school district, we had 6 cases that were school age between December 6th and December 12th. And we will break that out by building for the website tomorrow morning and put it up. That gives us a 5.8 rate per 10,000, which is still doing pretty good. However, that's the highest we've been yet. So we are seeing an increase in student cases. We still haven't had that first case with a direct link to school. A lot of these cases are emanating from families where there is another case already, and we're finding through the health department that that's where the origins seem to be coming from. We certainly encourage people not to meet in groups, try to keep the numbers down and to stay 6 feet away if at all possible. Within our school district, I continue to thank our teachers and administrators who strive every day to make sure that our standards are being maintained and that masks are being worn and we're staying at least 3 feet away with masks on in our classrooms. So I thank the parents for their diligence and their patience with all these changes. It seems to be there's changes all the time, but thank you for your patience in allowing us to serve your children in as safe a manner as we possibly can. So I just wanted you to have a little update there with the numbers. Again, I'll reflect that on the website tomorrow and break it down by building. We are having a bit more increase in cases which are affecting our staff, not necessarily numbers of cases of case-positive staff members, but cases which are causing our staff members to become close contacts. So the principals are stepping in and trying to cover, other teachers are covering, so that we can make the next couple of days successful as possible. We will need to carefully monitor the progression of this virus over the holidays. We're scheduled to come back, as you know, in second semester beginning January 4th. We are scheduled to bring back 86% of our students in person. And I thank everyone for their work in preparing for this second semester. We have a lot of work to do at the close of this week. I remind folks that the students will not be in session this coming Thursday and Friday. I will do a one call now out on Wednesday to remind them of that. But there's a lot of work to be done Thursday and Friday to set up classrooms and get our grades in and be ready to go on January 4th. But over the break, we will be watching keenly, especially that week following Christmas, what this spike is doing. If there's any changes necessary to begin our second semester, we will get that word out as early as possible. Right now, we're expecting to come back January 4th. We're doing everything to be prepared for that. But we also want to be prepared in case it's necessary to delay that start for any reason. It really has to do with that number of cases that we're seeing. So that's my update with regard to COVID. Any questions with regard to what's happening in our schools, questions you're getting from the community relative to how we're handling COVID or how we're planning for second semester? I'd be happy to answer.
Off the top of your head, do you know how many additional kids that's going to bring? I mean, I know we're going from 75% to 85. I was just curious, is that 60 kids? Is that 120 kids?
No, I think it's about 200. Debbie, would you help me? About 200,
200.
I think, from
Okay.
the records I saw. Okay, 200, about 200 more.
Okay.
But we're going to be able to do that with the support of the board at the last meeting. You'll see later on the agenda the employment of those 5 long-term substitutes that are going to assist us in making that happen. We've added sections where necessary, and we're making sure that the desks are at least putting students in a place where they're at least 3 feet apart with masks, mouth to mouth. That's at least. Any chance we get to keep them at 6 feet, we still try to do. But we can go, the study out of Harvard was very clear on saying 3 feet apart with masks is equal to 6 feet apart. So there's no more or less efficiency in a classroom, and therefore our health director is allowing us to do this across the county. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Just a brief note to the board, you'll see a diagram in front of you. As you know, we're preparing for the use of many of those donations that you saw earlier with regard to equipment to enhance our technology in our school district with regard to broadcasting, audio, video productions. But had some healthy discussions. I mean, Ruth Ann, Tim, Alan have all been in on the discussions with our donors. We had a nice meeting on Friday. We had another brief meeting right before this board meeting. We have another one on Thursday that we're going to continue to hone this more comprehensive view of the curriculum and how this new media would fit into that curriculum. Just to give you this, to keep you up to date, this diagram shows the pathways all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade, very basic model. But it shows where Project Launch goes into Project Lead the Way and how this audio-video production could fit into this. And it's not just audio-video production. There's a lot of other tentacles to it, such as graphic design. But you can look across this and get an idea of where we're heading with this. You'll get a little more detail in the coming weeks. And I appreciate the comments, the input from everyone on this as we look to bring about the best in technology for our students and the best in educational opportunities. I will tell you, as you look at this diagram, you'll see some numbers on there. Those numbers in parentheses show the current number of students who are taking those particular models. It gives you an idea of how many students are being exposed to this now. When you look at Project Launch at the elementary, clear on the left, there's a little less detail there. But those students, every student in the elementary works their way through the couple of models that we have this year embedded. So every student, the online and offline student, in-person students will experience that base launch program this year. So this is just to give you a little information and update. There'll be much more coming in the coming days and weeks. With regard to the agenda, I have just four general recommendations this evening. You'll see under item 8A, I'm recommending that the board approve the
Dale,
graduation.
could we ask one question? Are there any items on, this is a large section, are there any items on here that anyone wants to take out of the sequence? If they do, let's do it now and then we'll, if
I'd like
not,
to take B.
if not, we'll go on.
I'd like to take B.
Vote on that separately.
B,
Okay.
B as in boy, excuse me.
Got it, thank you. Thank you. Be out. All right, go ahead, Dale, I just
All
wanted
right.
to be sure and invite everybody to do that.
I'll describe each of the 5 recommendations. The first one is to approve the 7 students who qualify and have asked for early graduation as listed. These are students that will have met their requirements for graduation by the state of Ohio and Johnstown Public Schools. Under item B, it's the annual request from a Johnstown Men's League group to use the gymnasium on Sundays as they have in the past. And they have submitted the fee reduction for a $40 an hour fee. Under item C, to approve the time and place for the 2021 organizational meeting of the board to be held at 6:00 p.m. January 11th, 2021 in this room, directly preceding the regular first board meeting of 2021 at 6:30 p.m. Under item D, before you vote on this, and I assume you'll be voting on A, C, and D, you would want to gain an appointment for a president pro temp, who then would be the person that runs the organizational meeting. Those are my general recommendations this evening.
Okay, we'll need to look at D, put a name in there, and then we'll vote on the 3.
I'll make a motion for A, C, and D, and for D, I'd like to appoint Ruth Ann Boer as President Pro Tem.
I'll second it.
Okay, we don't have to vote on that, we just put it in there and then vote on the whole block,
You can vote
right?
on A, C, and
Okay,
D.
A,
now.
C, and D, we'll vote on that, please. Was that motion to cover everything, or you put a name in there? Does that
We
also
put the
take
name-
A, C,
we
and
put the
D?
name in.
I put you in there.
I know
And
you
I
did, but do
Oh.
you want to, do
And
we?
I seconded it, so your name is in there,
Yeah, we're good to just
Right,
vote.
For all 3.
Okay, okay,
A, C, and D can all be voted together.
that's what I wanted to
so.
say.
Yeah,
Do we
nobody
need
has
an
any
ex, do we need a separate motion for
Nope.
A, C, and D is my
No.
question.
Nope, I think we're good.
If we do not, let's go ahead and vote.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Mrs. Boer?
I'll abstain. Motion is carried. We'll move on to the 9, superintendent's personnel recommendations. Oh,
We have to go back to B. We need to
B as
vote
in
on B.
boy.
Oh, I'm sorry, we did pull out B, sorry. Okay, let's talk about B, and
I'll make a motion.
we have a
I'll
motion, and we
I'll
have a
second.
second. Any discussion? Yes, we do.
Done today. Dale, did you hear back from the Licking County Health Department? I think you were going to talk to them.
I did put in an inquiry and have heard nothing back. So
Yeah, they're
it's
pretty
much
busy.
as it has been as far as advice relative to the use of the gym by other groups. Yeah. So far, districts are allowing these outside groups to use their gymnasiums around the county. We have JYA using our elementary. We have this men's group for Sundays as they have. So I really don't have any reason to deny the use. Not that it can't be curtailed in the near future if the health department deems it necessary.
Do we know when they finish? I know they're planning that on. Do we know when they finish? I don't have a good.
The men's group,
Yeah,
They just started this weekend.
It's been, over the past years, Tim, I've seen them go
End of
varying times
January?
into the spring. I think it depends
Okay.
really on the weather.
Okay,
Okay.
I didn't know how long.
Once it
They-
gets good
they have
weather, then
officials. I mean,
Warms
it's a
up
kind of
early,
a
they
more-
stop playing and get out.
It's more
you know.
formalized league. It's much too competitive for me.
You didn't make the team or what?
No, I got too old to make those teams.
And are we still not allowing volunteers or anyone to enter our building?
Yeah, during the school day, when all the children and staff are present, we don't allow others into the buildings. Deliveries, they stop the door, and then we're trying to curtail that during the days.
Are we leaving the cleaning supplies for them to wipe down? That
We
was
don't
one of
have
the
the
concerns.
cabinets yet.
Okay.
I just asked about that last week, and we haven't got our cabinets to hold the supplies, but I think supplies are there. Have you heard?
I don't know.
I
I
haven't
haven't been
personally
in.
gone
I
in
just
to
want to make
check to
sure
see
they're
if they're
using the
there.
correct stuff to clean
seen
and
them
not
there,
bringing their
Frank?
own stuff in.
Have you seen the cleaning
Do you
supplies?
see cleaning supplies in the gym, like spray
don't think
bottles
he's
of
been in.
40A and wipes and things? Okay, so JYA is providing their own
Oh,
supplies.
okay.
But like for the men's group, we would need them to have the sprays.
Yeah, I just
for
want to
the
make sure they
benches
have
and
the
things.
right stuff and we're not damaging anything because
Yeah,
they're bringing
I've
in
asked-
their own cleaning supplies.
I've asked quite a few times to have the supplies put in there. I don't have the cabinet in which we didn't buy those yet.
Right. Okay.
We've been looking for one that's cost effective.
Well, we know the guy that runs this league, so let's just get with him and make
Yeah,
sure
Yeah,
he knows how to.
I
clean.
have explained to him that they are to follow the same protocols
Okay.
as our teams do. So if they're sitting on sidelines, they're supposed to have their mask on. They're supposed to stay apart.
Yep.
While they're actively playing, they play.
I understand.
Appreciate your questions.
I appreciate you following up and calling the health department and stuff. So,
Any more discussion on this item B? If not, call the roll, please.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
No.
Mrs. Boer?
Yes, the motion is carried. Move along. Sorry about the
Yes.
confusion on the last one. I was just looking for the protocol. If you did insert a name, do you do just the ones that you didn't do, or do you do just that one? Sorry. So,
There are a number of personnel recommendations I have before you this evening. First one under item A, under 9A, is to accept the resignation of Mana Doyle for the purpose of retirement. Been a hard decision on Mana to make, but she gave us a notification. She'll be retiring at the end of this school year. Under item B, to approve the following long-term subs. These are the 5 that you authorized at the last meeting, and I ask you to approve those as listed. Under item C, asking you to accept the resignation of Chris Turner as boys soccer coach. Hate to see Chris go. Pretty good job he did, and thank him for his service. Under item D, to approve limited contract as casual substitute for Beth Whistler. Beth serving for Alicia Guess, as you know, is teaching a little different style. And so Beth covers the classroom for her in Spanish. So that's ongoing, but now we need to approve the limited contract for her as she will be past 60 days. Under item E, asking you to accept the resignation of Erin McConnell as an assistant JV softball coach. This was not supposed to be, she was not supposed to be approved as a paid coach. She was supposed to be approved as a volunteer. So you'll see a little later her listed under the volunteer. The wrong recommendation form was submitted, and we're making that correction tonight. To do that, she would need to resign her contract, which is what she's doing. Under item F is to approve the following supplemental positions for employment contracts per the terms of the contract language as listed. Under item G, we're approving the pupil activity positions for employment contracts as listed. And under item H, we're asking you to approve the volunteer positions as listed, and that is where you'll see Erin listed properly there. And under item I, as I explained under announcements, we're asking that you approve Teresa Roberts to be added to our food service substitute list for this year. We are in great need of good substitutes in all areas, but people are getting people are getting pretty exhausted and wore out, and we've got all these contacts happening. So if anybody out there who's listening on the web, you're interested in helping serve as substitutes in any capacity, just call our office. We'll accept your help and direct you as necessary to
Except
Except us.
to the areas. Well, board members excluded, but those are my recommendations for personnel this evening.
Okay. Motion, please.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on any of those items? I'd like to ask one question on item A. Lana has 17 or 19 years in. I know
think
it's
it
a
was
lot, and I just wanted to say
7.
thank you very much for the,
Let me make sure. I think I had that actually noted
Wasn't that in the ed brief?
in my briefs. 19. It was
19.
19.
Lana
19
has been a
years.
good trooper. She's moved schools, cleaned schools, rearranged schools, et cetera. So she's been with us through a lot of transitions. So thank you, Mana, for staying with us and being a good teacher. We appreciate that. On item B, I'm assuming that the long-term subs, as you've mentioned, would be for the school year, and even if we have a miracle, right? That's a joke.
Yeah.
Even if we have a miracle.
Hey, Ruth Ann, one of our long-term subs is here, Miss Boston.
Oh, okay. Hello.
I
didn't see you. Hi.
We'll invite you in just a minute. Let's vote on it first, and then we'll talk about it. We have a motion and a second. We have discussion. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to comment, Lana has affected the lives of so many students here. It just is amazing, and I'm disheartened that she's leaving us. And the same thing for Chris Turner. Chris Turner has been our soccer coach for many, many years, and has had a tremendous impact on the lives of many young men. And it saddens me to see both of them leave our organization.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other comments? If not, call the roll, please.
Mr. Benton?
Yes.
You were going to refuse to accept?
I don't know. It's tough. I'm telling you.
Mrs. Boer?
It's really tough.
Yes.
Both of them very well.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Swager?
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas?
Yes.
Motion is carried. You would really keep someone against their will?
Well,
We're going to do it to Debbie. We might as well do it to
Yeah,
others.
That's true.
We've clearly said she's not allowed to leave.
That's
Never.
right, Debbie, so
Never.
don't get any ideas.
Never ever.
No one here is allowed to leave. So.
Ruth Ann, I'd
We'd
just
like-
like to welcome.
Yeah, right. Would you like to stand up and say hello to us and tell us your name? Okay. Great.
Welcome, Cindy.
We're-
I know Cindy sort of, and I will tell you that she's been subbing for many, many teachers this year, and all three of my boys just really enjoy every time that they get Mrs. Boston.
We really appreciate you joining us on the front lines this year, Cindy, really. And thanks for taking this long-term position.
And we're all smiling under these masks, but you can't see us. Okay, good. Welcome. Okay, we'll move to,
And just, should we congratulate our graduates?
yes,
Congratulations.
yes. Would
Or
you
is
like
that
to
the
do
next
that?
one?
Yes, would you like to
Sorry.
do that? Would you like to congratulate them in any way, particularly other than to say that we do appreciate that they've endured the time here? More than that, they've contributed a great deal, and we're going to be sorry to have them go. So thank you for attending Johnstown High School. Okay, at this point, we have committee reports. And our committee report for this evening would be the Oversight Committee, and you're pointing at me.
I'm not pointing at you.
Okay. I thought she was going to do that, so I didn't move.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little report from the Oversight Committee, and it has to do with something I wrote to the board members about, which would be the windows. And also, let me get it up here. There's a little change to the outside of the Searfoss renovated to intermediate school building. So we want to show that this evening. We added this little piece right here, which gives a little softer look to this area. The red touch above the main entrance doors. That's about it for the outside. Any suggestions? It's still not too late. This is about the fourth rendering that we've had, and we're always looking for additional elements you think that we could add. We have learned that the brick underneath the windows, we can't replicate that, so I think we're going to probably end up with brick that's just a charcoal brick, using that as a border. We can't find the green glazed brick that's in the old building, so we'll make some adjustments there. All in all, we've had good comments, but we still show you in case you have some ideas. We'll still listen. So at this point, let's look at what the window treatment. Notice the composition board in all of these windows right here. You can't see them so much there, but you can see them in this section in the front here. We've all gotten accustomed to seeing those, and Chris Almendinger was sporting those and still is in her building. Is that right, Chris? We did not add new windows to her building, and frankly, that was not one of our better choices because we wish we had. It's such a dirty mess job to have to replace those windows after you've already decorated a building. So let's look at the next two slides, if you will. This is what our rooms look like at the moment. We're considering keeping the open girder look above, but these window places, fillers would be out of there. And then we'll go to the next slide and show you how different it looks with window glass there. Now that's not quite appropriate because built in the windows will be shades or blinds that can adjust for the light in the room. So they won't be quite as clear as you're seeing there, but that's certainly better than what we have with the composition board. And the pieces over here, the furniture, that's the extent of the furniture that's going to exist in these classrooms. We'll have an interactive screen where you see the screen here, and this is still in debate. We haven't decided what this whiteboard will be or if it's in that location. So still under discussion. And I notice here that they put a tile ceiling in this room. We haven't determined that yet. We may keep the open girders. We're just not sure. So don't get married to something just because we see it. It may change, but that's the idea on the windows. So that concludes our brief show for this evening. At this point, we could talk to the board and see if you have any thoughts about the alternate expenditure. And we know it's a lot of money. It was important that we bring it to you because we didn't commit this board to anything. And this was, in fact, we didn't have any other alternates in this project but the windows. So we value engineered very carefully. And again, as we do the page turn for the last time, when the architect and the construction people come to well, we think the next meeting, we're not sure yet, depends on a lot of things like COVID, a lot of things. But as they come to the next meeting, if you see something in the page turn that we need to do or perform differently or add to or take away, we're always listening. So, but right now the windows are the big alternate. So let's just make this an open discussion and anybody can lead off and we'll try to answer your questions.
Is it all outside, all of the outside windows that they're looking at?
Yes.
And are some in better condition than others? Is that on the table of doing some but not others and prioritizing ones that are most inefficient? Or is it sort of a do them all or don't do them all?
Well, the proposal was to do them all because they are the original windows in the building. When the building was built, and they haven't gotten any better with age.
Right.
Some do leak when it rains, and certainly we have one section of the building on the south side of the building that has a mold issue, and we don't know what we're going to run into when we start taking that side of the building apart, meaning taking those windows out, or at least refurbishing that side of the building. So we really don't know. So, comments, Tim? You were
No, I
at the
mean,
meetings?
you know, Ruth Ann, having sat through these meetings on this, we tried to get rid of all those alternates that we had on the other two projects, mainly because what we found is by the time we decided yes or no, when we had the dollars, it was too late and it cost us way too much money to try to add the alternates in after we had already done it. So we kind of narrowed this down to it's just the windows. Do you keep the old windows or do you put new windows in? And the price is there. Was it
$280,
$285,000?
Yeah.
That gets you all new windows or you don't get them. I mean, that's really the decision to be made on our end. But we want to kind of make that decision now because everything else piggybacks off of that. So if we don't want to do them, we have to do some other type of treatment around those windows. And if we are doing it, then we know what we're in for.
The windows that you're looking at have blinds in them,
Yes, they do.
and is that like by remote, automatic?
They're manual. They're just like
They're
these.
supposed to be identical to these.
Sliders on the right there.
So what's the cost if we were to keep the windows and refurbish it? What kind of cost would it be?
So we haven't
We
quite
haven't
detailed
pursued
it
that
out,
yet.
but it's probably you're looking at 40 to 60,000 was what Jeremy had estimated. He's got to figure out a trim piece. You know, there's some stuff like that. So he's thinking 40 to 60. He said it may go as high as 80,
So then the delta is
200.
200.
Correct.
So make sure the public.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
a
so
good
It's not
point, Alan.
285, it's $200,000.
Right.
The other thought on that too, if we refurbish them, we've got the composition board, I call it, in those windows. So we either try to, if you want a building that looks the same and you want all fenders to look alike, we're going to have to be sure that we add that composition board to the refurbished windows or to the new windows if we selectively choose some windows and not all windows. So that was our dilemma, and so we decided the decision was too big for us. We brought it to you. Not
It's
really,
one of the
but
few items in the building that is truly it's a decision to be made as far as what's best. So and on top of that $60,000-$80,000, Alan, we'd also have to do some type of window treatment because in the new one we'll have the blinds built in. That's not included in anything. Again, it shouldn't be significant, but it is an additional cost that we have to bear.
I don't know a lot about windows and replacing versus refurbishing, so you might have to educate me. If we were to go the refurbished route, how long would that get us, so to speak, of like them being in good shape versus a brand new set? I'm just curious versus cost. Like if we refurbished them, is it looking likely that they would be good for 5 years, or are they just as good as, lifelong? So I'm just trying to sort of see how long is this gonna get us with good windows, and is it 5 years and then we'll have to either refurbish again, or we're looking at a full replacement then?
I think the real unknown for us is the side that had so much damage from the water dripping in, the rooms on the one side of the building. If you've ever served or had children in that building, it has an intense odor of mold. So when we start taking that side apart, we really don't know what we're going to find. So it's hard to say the extent of what we're going to have to do. However, if it's the board's decision that we should look for more answers financially to have that examined, we'll pay that money for the assessment of trying to refurbish those windows. That's kind of where we are. Would you not say that's correct, Tim?
No, that's correct.
Okay, I just wasn't curious. I was
Yeah.
curious if refurbishing was only going to give us 2 or 3 more
Sure.
years, and if that was sort of made sense or not.
And
So,
we're talking about
Again, I
not-
don't know anything about
Can you refurbish
windows.
that age of windows?
that's the
I mean, do they
challenge
have
of
the
it, and
parts and everything?
the outside trim. We may be in for as much just trying to refurbish those as we are to replace them, not knowing what we're getting into. And just so you know, in the grand scheme of the project, we're talking probably about 2% of the cost of the project with this
That's a good
decision.
point, Tim.
Well, maybe those are some questions you could take back about how long would refurbishing get us, sort of the longevity of the windows to do it that way. Because I'd
And will
like
they
to sort of
warranty?
compare,
Will they
I
warranty
mean,
the
not just price,
refurbishing?
but
Probably
timeline.
not.
They, yeah, I don't think they'll
I don't think we'll get a warranty with the refurbishing.
Sure, that makes sense.
One
You know.
consideration I might suggest is, if you remember back, we did our asbestos abatement already in the building. Two areas that were left that were not abated because they were sealed. One was around the windows. If the windows are replaced, then that asbestos can come out. But right now, it's sealed around the windows.
That's
The
a
other
good
is-
point,
The
Dale.
other is in
That's a
that
good
panel
point.
above the entry
Mhm.
doors to the classroom.
Mhm.
That is sealed, it's been painted. Those are the only two remaining pieces of asbestos. So if you should choose to redo the windows, one, you need to consider the cost of abatement around the windows.
Around the
Because that'll be
windows.
done separately from the window company. And two, the fact that you would, once and for all, remove the final bit of asbestos from the building.
So do we have a cost for abating? No.
We didn't
We're
go
not at
that,
that design, this is that design side of it. This is DD. We're not to construction yet.
we're far from accepting everything yet. We just wanted to bring this as,
Well, could we
for
find out what
discussion.
the estimated cost for abating the asbestos is? Someone should know, right?
General.
Jeremy should be able to get it pretty quick.
Yeah, I would think Jeremy would know that
So
fairly
could we
easy.
get that number too?
sure.
The company that did our abatement, they brought it to our attention.
Right.
You know, we chose not to do anything with the windows.
Right, because we didn't
obviously,
know if we were touching them.
Okay, so basically, we'll bring it back at the next board meeting with more numbers, and you'd like to know the cost of refurbishing and the cost of the abatement around the windows,
For
And-
clarification.
and perhaps
Warranty. And warranty.
the longevity of
What will
the.
they warranty on a refurbishment?
Yeah. And for clarification, if we get that information back tomorrow from Jeremy, because it's not going to take him very long,
No.
this isn't anything that takes board action to move on the alternate. We're not going to be voting
Not
on
really.
the price. I just want to make sure that we don't waste a month in our process waiting
Sure.
for the next
Right.
board meeting.
Right.
It's something that we can take a look at and everyone,
Just
send the
data out.
information and data,
See what it costs.
because it doesn't take board action to move along in the process. But we'll be voting on this in January, February, some point for the actual
You're gonna
total
vote on the whole
project.
package anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just, if everyone's comfortable, I don't want to stop a project for a month
Sure.
waiting for the next board meeting to decide if we have windows or not.
Yeah, you can.
Right. It'll
One of
cost
the-
us more than that in design and construction
That's right.
time.
You have to move.
Yeah.
One of the issues we ran into in the middle school was trying to match the old insets that were in the building to try to get the color match and make it look like we didn't hodgepodge. So that's another thing. I don't know how many windows we'll take out and how many we're going to have to find the filler to put back in, and then what does it look like? So we tried to hide Chris's as best we could there in that middle school, but so we'll get those numbers and then we'll send an email but we'll probably make that decision so we can move forward.
Yeah.
Is that satisfactory
Yeah.
to the board? Okay, good. Any other additional business? Are there committee reports? I'm a little bit out of sequence here, but committee reports, I just took the Oversight Committee. Are there any other committee reports that we did? We basically talked about the donors and where we were with that, so we've covered that. Any additional old business? New business? Nope. Okay, if not, we'll entertain, do we have an executive session? Do we need an executive session this evening? Okay, if not,
We're going to make the basketball game.
I can get home.
Tim is ready to go home.
No, to the gym.
I know. If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll
So
make the
moved.
motion. I'll second.
Don't run out the door. Okay. We have a motion second. Call the roll, please. We won't discuss it.
Mr. Benton,
Yes.
Mrs. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Swager,
Yes.
Mrs. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Boer.
Yes, and the motion's carried. What time is it?
Thank you,
7:18.
board, and have
Merry
a
Christmas,
wonderful
everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Merry
Stay
Christmas.
safe.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Merry Christmas.